Towards the end of a painting, there's not much excitement. It's a lot of little touch-ups. If anything, the beginning of a painting has a lot more emotion and brushwork involved. A lot quicker, just laying out color. Towards the end, it's just going back and doing little details. Just a little bit of sky here, a little bit of the cloud here. Fine-tune some of the dry brushing, add some color here, and so on. Something interesting I do is take my painting out of my studio, actually hang it in my living room somewhere, and just take a look at it here and there and see what else needs to be worked on. I feel this way I can get a better idea what needs to be done to complete it. And after that, I try to implement all the ideas I have. The sun is a very important thing in the painting. It's the focal point where the light from it illuminates all the clouds and the earth below. I had to make it as realistic as possible. Everything from the haziness to the brightness. I wanted when people look at it, they saw a sun. I want it to be believable that that sun is illuminating those clouds, and particularly in different ways depending where the clouds are, what type they are, and how close they are to the sun. The ones closest to the sun are the ones that are obviously the most brightest, and I tried to spread that light to the surrounding ones. I felt it was necessary after viewing my painting outside of my studio, and here and there I would also add some sky to take away cloud. The color I used to achieve the light was a very delicate balance of zinc white and some yellow and tad bit of blue, and in the areas that were closer to the sun, titanium white, since it's a more powerful, potent white that stands out. In order to get that smooth finish, I sometimes would have to re-wet the darker tones and then blend in the light with a dry brush. Check out my previous videos if you want to see more cloud work. I have 3 other episodes. To get the dead center of the sun to look as bright as possible, I went with very thick titanium white and a very small amount of orange. I believe that combination gets the brightest tone possible. And I did want the sun to appear so bright that you would squint if you look at it. After establishing the brightness of the sun, I carefully crafted the clouds around, spreading the light. Again, like my previous video, lots of dry brushing was involved to get that smooth appearance. Besides fine-tuning the sky and clouds, I went back to the trees and the branches. I played with the soft and hard lines to give it a sense that it's a 3-dimensional object. The hardest lines that you'll see are the trunk and the thick branches, and I wanted the tinier ones to blend in with the sky in some areas. That way I could establish the tree more as a 3-dimensional object than a silhouette. The leaves I went back to more like a graphic designer. I did follow the photo as much as possible, but I just started laying out leaves confidently where I felt like they belonged. But I looked carefully at the photo to see how I could separate some of the blurry trees that are in the background. But I looked very carefully at the photo to see if I could carefully make certain trees stand out in the background. I didn't want too much attention to them. I wanted their presence seen and the different variations of color. In order to get certain tones of black, I used my combination of alizarin crimson and viridian. But after I make that batch, depending on the situation, I would add sometimes some orange, blue, or red. And for those trees that are blurry, mostly orange. The trees on the side of the road, I didn't want them to be too distracting. I wanted them to be simple looking and also a tad creepy, especially since they are very dark. But I did try to establish certain trees and bushes to stand out with different variations of tones. But as it goes more to the vanishing point where the road ends, they would get more on the blurrier side and less visible. Also, the line work would get a little smaller. This is part of the painting that is most up close to the viewer because it's on the ground level right in front of the street. I took the photo while in a passenger side of a car, and since this is up close, I intended it to be as clear as possible, the road that is. And since the sun is illuminating the road, it will stand out among the dark trees surrounding it. Plus it goes into a straight line minus the right turn that it makes into the distance where the fog hides mysteries and the mountains and clouds tower over everything else. In a way, I kind of make this as in the road to the unknown. I didn't spend a lot of time detailing it, but that car plays a very important role to establish scale. For it to be so small among all the other things in the picture plane, you get a good sense how tall those mountains are. I did make the mountains appear taller from the photo, but that was my intent, so they could look like they're hovering on the fog. Again, more fine-tuning with the trees, this time on the right. I went back and tried to do certain branches again and again, and a few leaves here and there as well. Nothing but fine-tuning towards the end. I didn't want the sides to look just plain black. I wanted the impression that there was going to be some trees in there. So to give the illusion, I made some trunks and branches stand out among the darkness by applying different variations of darks. Some really dark and some mixed with a little bit of other colors to lighten them. And again, the leaves, there's patchworks of leaves throughout, and I tried to distinguish some individual trees as well with those leaves, since some trees were not bare. Once again, I'm going back into the sun, and for good reasons. I wanted to look like a sun. As mentioned before, I used an actual palette knife to apply very thick paint, which is titanium white and a tad bit of orange. But to make the sun believable, it's not just about applying a very bright white, it's also the surrounding areas like the clouds that will give off the illusion of a sun. So I would go back again into the clouds to spread the light. And since this is a focal point in the painting, I did spend a lot more time refining the clouds and the streaks, since all eyes will be on the sun. And here's a little secret, that is my signature. Yes, I planted the 2 X's for my name in Greek and 22 for the year. After I established that, I tried to blend it in to make it part of the painting. I'm a person that kind of likes to hide my signature versus make it completely clear and visible or hidden on the back or side. I wanted it to become part of the painting. I remember someone mentioning, be careful with your signature because it does become part of your painting, and I said to myself, why not integrate it? To finish off this painting, I guess I went back into the clouds again. Yes, I wanted them to look like the sun is spreading the light among them in different variations because of distance, whether it's applying some light tones to soften them or reapplying the sky to cut out the clouds. Just lots of variations, including the streaks that are on the bottom. Finishing a painting, it's not that exciting. It's just a lot of little work and detail you just have to go back into, and scrutinizing every little detail that could possibly improve the painting in the end, or even just removing detail to make certain areas less annoying. If you notice, the clouds are directional, and I did that a little more intentional from the photo. I wanted the viewer to be led towards the sun, and then from the sun led to the road. So I twisted and turned the line work of the clouds in order to get that illusion. But I didn't stray too much from the photo. Besides the clouds and sun, I even touched up the sky itself here and there. I wanted the blue to stand out, so I reapplied some blue in areas. Plus the dark blue has a nice contrast against all the lighter clouds around it. If you made it to the end, thanks for watching. This painting was a very interesting painting to do, considering how I really thought it was going to be a very quick 2-3 day painting, and ended up being several weeks before and after my trip to Greece. I already begun work on a new painting, so stay tuned for my next video. What will it be? Well, if you check out my other Instagram account, Not Your Typical Photos, I have a hint where I show the photo of a certain animal that is going to be used in the painting. Anyway, also check out my other Instagram where I finished posting all the paintings I did while in Greece. Not Your Typical Painter, of course. Anyway, thanks for watching and following the series. Bye.